right, a very good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning Cafe. Today being February the 22nd, it is exactly 53 days into the year, about 312 days remaining for the year. But it being a leap year, because this is a leap year, we're going up till 29th.
Yes.
It's about 313 days remaining to the end of the year. My name is Fred Ndimuli. How hot is a coffee where you are?
Oh, yes. And I'm used to really Stanley Nyeringit, and because it's a leap year, you shouldn't be jumping into conclusions. Get the joke? Because it's a leap year, you shouldn't be jumping.
Maybe ndaishika baadaye.
Karibu sana, it's a Thursday. It's one of those favorite days for me, getting to help you understand your relationship. And today we talk about matters getting into the social media. Is it okay for you to get your mpoa pale kwa social media? You name which kind of social media platform that you use, but do you think you can actually get your mpoa from there? Stick around for that conversation.
It's definitely a concept I cannot understand. But a quick look at the headlines this morning. And yeah, the Daily Nation exposed 149 MPs who failed Kenyans. These ones did not show up for the vote yesterday. Let's take a look at the other daily. On the Standard, exposed, and they've used exposed in both dailies.
Yes.
Exposed 883 million shillings scam in universities.
And again, like yesterday, numbers seem to be revolving around all dailies today.
Exactly. Another daily. Joho versus Oparanya, big split on Raila's successor. That's on the Star. The big headline on the People Daily, CBC caught in 4 billion shilling scandal. Kikosi cha kampeni ya Raila. Habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Kwingineko ni vilio kila kona, mgao wa maji kule Tanzania. These are just some of the dailies, both locally and in the region this morning. We'll be looking at them in depth later on. But for now, over to you, Stanley.
To the weather now, and just to see how the weather is looking like in different regions of the country. I'll start with Kwale. It is 24 degrees Celsius, but they say it feels like 27 degrees Celsius. It promises to get as hot as 36 degrees Celsius in Kwale at around 3 p.m. there. And, you know, Friday into 33, and into the weekend probably lower than that. Into a different place now. And right here in Nairobi, it is 19 degrees Celsius, but they're saying it feels like 25 degrees Celsius. I'm wondering where that is.
Temperatures are still a bit high.
Yes. Promises to get as hot as about 27 there. Into another place, in Kisii, 18 degrees Celsius, rather 17 actually now. It feels like the same 17.
That's a bit normal, yeah?
Yes, into 31. The people there will tell you, as much as others are saying it's very hot, it will still be raining in Kisii. Oh, yes. And finally, in Moyale, 23 degrees Celsius right now. And they're saying it feels like 25 degrees Celsius. Probably get into 30 degrees Celsius. The whole, some winds there as 34. Well. 34 actually. Wow, yes. That's how hot it is going to be. Let's get into the highlights now.
All right, on our highlights today, 149 members of the National Assembly skipped crucial vote that approved the controversial affordable housing bill, which now heads to the Senate. The next highlight, Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Defense and Sharia House ranked as the top achievers among state departments in the latest performance contracting review conducted by the Cabinet Office. And finally, weather forecast by the IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center indicates a higher probability of wetter than normal conditions across most parts of the Great North Horn of Africa, including Kenya, between March and May this year.
Right, let's start with Today in History today, doing things a little different and see what ever happened on such a day back then. So in Today in History, on such a day back in 2020, South Sudan opened a new chapter in its fragile emergence from civil war on the 22nd of February 2020 as rival leaders Salva Kiir and Riek Machar formed a coalition government. Let's now get into the next bit, into a news diary, and see what to expect today. And we do start with the Parliament Committee's report, different Parliament Committee itinerary. The first one, the Public Debt and Privatization Committee shall today meet Governor Central Bank of Kenya, that is Kamau Thuge, in the morning, and later in the noon meets with the Control of Budget, that is Margaret Nyakango, to consider the medium-term debt strategy 2024. Meanwhile, also today, we do expect the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning will be meeting with the Cabinet Secretary, that is National Treasury, with regards to the financial year 2024-2025 budget, policy statement for the National Treasury and its sagas. Meanwhile, in the in the Senate Committee on Energy will be meeting with the Cabinet Secretary, that is the Ministry, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Energy and Petroleum, CS Ministry of Environment, Governor, Nairobi City County, as well as DG EPRA and DG NEMA. So the whole agenda of this meeting will be to deliberate on the tragic incident that happened in Embakasi on the 1st of February the year, which resulted in death, injuries, and destruction of property. Right, and moving on, let's get into the National Prevention Week. So NACADA will today launch the National Prevention Week Summit. So this Prevention Week began on Monday and will conclude tomorrow, which is on Friday, basically raising awareness on preventive measures to curb drug and substance abuse. Let's move on to something else, to our next page. Into matters courts, so the case between Joseph Kagai Nyamwitha versus the Attorney General and 7 former Jubilee Party NEC members who have been appointed to plum state jobs, yet continue to masquerade as party officials against Political Parties Act and the Constitution of Kenya 2010 will be mentioned today. The case was filed on the 23rd of January at the Employment and Labour Relations Court. And finally, into matters sports, a game I love to call the game of kings and queens. Right here, just our neighbors at Muthaiga Golf Club. The Magical Kenya Open 2024 will be teeing off today at 7:10 a.m. That's in an hour's time from now at the Par 71 Muthaiga Golf Club. The event will be the 55th edition, and you'll see senior pro Dismas Indiza lead the Kenyan team of 13 golfers, and which include 9 professionals and 4 amateurs. Fred, I don't know if you've ever tried teeing off.
Well, I'm yet to get to that level. And I'm just looking at something here, and it says that today is also the World Thinking Day.
Yes, and also Understanding Day also.
Yes.
World Understanding Day.
You need to understand, think and understand.
Yes.
Okay. Was that what you based your earlier joke on? Overthinking. Yes, it is a World Thinking Day celebrated each year by the Girl Guides and Girl Scouts across the world on February 22nd.
Oh, yes.
All right, time now to take a look at the dailies. All right, let's start off with the People Daily today. And on the front page of the People Daily, CBC caught in 4 billion shilling scandal. As you said, numbers on the front page. And the amounts we've been talking about for this whole week.
Oh, yes.
In
from the Auditor General's office.
Different kind of scams. So CBC caught in 4 billion shilling scandal. They say Auditor General reveals that ministry cannot account for cash meant for construction of classrooms. A story is on page 4. points out to high corruption in the education sector. 1.6 is the amount of money in Kenya billions used as scholarship. Still on the front page of the People Daily, drama as Sacco boss Gakuyo arrested. Man accused of embezzling 1 billion shillings from members seized at the airport shortly before he flew out of Kenya. On the top strip of the People Daily, one of the big talking points on that affordable housing bill. MPs pass housing levy bill despite protests. And at the very top, expert Kiptum died of head injuries. Pathologist says fractures signal that fallen marathoner was on the wheel. They also offer tips on beating the scorching heat. They say 10 ways to beat scorching heat. That's on page 20 of the People Daily.
Right. Let's go over to something else. On the Daily Nation, exposed 149 MPs who failed Kenyans. They say on a crucial vote on a bill imposing a housing levy that has generated huge public interest came up in the House on Tuesday evening. 149 MPs, despite the previous public show of approval or disapproval, or no show. An even bigger group snapped the final legislative stage yesterday on Wednesday. And they have some numbers there. Those who are absent from each, the name, and also the party, and each and every single party. More is on page 7. Below there, matters still on matters numbers. Roadmap to fix debt mess, pay suppliers. So the Parliamentary Budget Office recommends reduced borrowing to manage public debt that has surged past 11 trillion shillings. Together, they're reserving 20% of budgetary allocations for, let me just get, for the whole bit of that. And away from that, the highlight on the front page of this paper. Private firms running eCitizen, auditor says, so the state has little control of the eCitizen payment portal. Auditor General Nancy Kathungu said, warning that this could compromise accountability of the billions of shillings processed through the platform. More is on the back page of this paper. That's quite shocking. On the right strip, head injuries caused Kiptum's shock death. The post-mortem examination has found that the marathon world record holder, Kiptum, died due to multiple injuries. At the very top scroll, ministers put on notice as cabinet retreat ends. More is on page 10. And the Embakasi fire victims lament empty promises by state officials. That, in a nutshell, is the front page of Daily Nation.
Let's cross over to the Standard now. And it starts with the same similar word, exposed. 883 million shilling scam universities. That's a big headline on the front page of the Standard. Parliament is investigating how Higher Education Placement Agency KUPS disbursed 883 million shillings to finance students who had already graduated from private universities following Auditor General Nancy Gathungu's revelations. Another scam there. The other story given prominence on the front page, Ruto MPs ram housing bill through Parliament. Elsewhere, Raila succession titans line up to take the mantle. And yes, that mention of the post-mortem on Kelvin Kiptum's death. Post-mortem reveals how Kiptum died. Let's move to the top strip of the Standard now. And one of the highlights there, debt repayments swallow 98% of January revenues. All the money went to debt repayment. Elsewhere, Ruto adds 3 trillion shillings to public debt. On the global front, parenting, YouTuber thrown in. And in sports, EPL race, Titans at the top. That's the front page of the Standard today.
From the Standard to the Star, Joho versus Oparanya, big split on Raila's successor, and they're focusing on matters party politics. They say leading ODM insiders differ on who should take over as former Prime Minister as AU top job on page 6. Below that, a marauding Tana River jumbo translocated to Tsavo National Park. So it was a stray elephant roaming Kitere village in Tana River County. The KWS veterinary and capture team darts and capture the elephant, loads it into a truck. There are more highlights on the bottom strip. Loyal Thiambo speaks on her ambition to become Law Society's 51st president. And Thiambo is Faithful Thiambo, the vice president of the Law Society of Kenya. And they're holding debates yesterday for both posts, for the male representative to the Judicial Service Commission, as well as the LSK president, ahead of the presidential and ahead of the LSK elections next week on Thursday, the last day of February. Away from that, another bit that was also now a highlight, heavy rains forecast for the March to May planting season, weathermen say. And matters big dreams, how Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja intends to spend 43 billion Kenyan shillings in proposed 2024-2025 budget. Finally, at the very top, more numbers on this daily. Private varsities to refund 219 million shillings as MPs start investigation. And this mirrors what was on the front page of the Standard, that Auditor General's report on the money sent to private universities to cater for private, those who had graduated from the private universities. They call it a big financial blow. And that is the Star 60 Bob for today.
All right. Let's take a look at matters business. On the Business Daily front page, State House overshoots 6-month budget by 447 million shillings. Ruto's office spends 5.3 billion shillings against a target of 4.9 billion. Over expenditure comes despite an austerity push. That's a big headline on the front page of the Business Daily. Elsewhere, inside Kenya's costly 1.6 trillion shilling infrastructure bonds binge. On one hand, they're talking about being able to buy back the Eurobond. Now they're talking about the binge. On the ticker, National Assembly clears 1.5% housing levy on gross pay. That bill was passed by Parliament yesterday. It now heads to the Senate. Elsewhere, court blocks KRA from charging 16% tax on card payment fees. And finally, banks to set up seizures of assets. And that's the front page of the Business Daily today.
All right, tuingie kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo. Taarifa kuu pale kwa ukubwa na upana, kikosi cha kampeni ya Raila wamechapisha picha baadhi ya viongozi Peter Mathuki, Elkana Odembo, Wycliffe Oparanya, Musalia Mudavadi, Korir Sing'oei na Olusegun Obasanjo. Wanasema kuwa maafisa serikalini na upinzani kushirikiana kumpigia debe kinara huyu wa ODM kutoa uenyekiti katika AUC. Aidha, rekeza kuwa Rais William Ruto na kiongozi wa Azimio Raila Odinga wameanza kuunda kikosi cha kampeni kushawishi mataifa ya Afrika kuunga mkono azima ya kiongozi huyo wa upinzani kwa mwenyekiti wa tume ya Umoja wa Afrika AUC. Baadhi ya vidokezo vingine kwenye gazeti hili. Ya kwanza, koti yarudisha kesi ya malipo NSSF kwa rufaa. Dokeza kuwa mahakama ya juu yarejesha kesi ya kupinga sheria ya NSSF kwa mahakama ya rufaa ili kusikilizwa upya. Kwenye masuala ya ugatuzi, kizaazaa mabunge ya Kisii Laikipia. Kisii wataka naibu gavana atemwe, Laikipia wataka kinara wa wachache nje. Kwingineko, masuala ya kitaifa, Afrika Kusini kuandaa kura tarehe 29 mwezi wa Mei. Rais Ramaphosa ametangaza siku hiyo kama siku ya uchaguzi mkuu. Kidokezo kingine au vidokezo vingine pale juu, benki kutoa mali za wanaoshindwa kulipa mikopo. Na Wakenya huenda wakapoteza mali yao, huku benki zikipanga kuimarisha harakati ya kutoa mali ya wakopaji kama hao. Wengineko, Mbappe sasa mali ya Real Madrid. Adokeza kuwa Mfaransa huyo mwenye miaka 25 tayari amejiulisha PSG kwamba ataondoka mwishoni mwa msimu huu Juni mwaka 2024. Nikumbusha kwamba Arsenal mlikuwa mnagaragazana na ni Porto. Mlitandikwa au
tuangazie masuala mengi zaidi.
Mlitandikwa sio?
Masuala ya spoti yatakuja baadaye, Stanley.
Mlitandikwa sio? Mligaragazwa, ndio Waswahili watasema.
Nafikiri muda
mliona kivumbi yao. Tuna muda. Mwelekezi wetu atatupa muda, hata muda tano.
Nakubali, jana hakukwenda vile tulipanga. Anyway, let's cross the border now. Let's cross the border, take a look at the headlines in Uganda. And we kick off with the Daily Monitor in Kampala, Uganda. Criminals stole 5 billion shillings a day last year. This is according to police. Okay, fine, 5 billion Ugandan money. Ugandan money, yeah. This is a 2023 crime report. The money Ugandans lost to crime more than doubled from the previous year's 859 billion. Yet authorities were only able to recover 80 billion. A new police report has said, even as it painted a better security picture, indicating that crime had slightly reduced. So yes, as Kenya grapples with issues around corruption, in Uganda they're dealing with matters theft. Picture there of Makerere University converting Mutesa's house into a museum. Interesting. Other highlights on the front page of the Daily Monitor in Kampala, Uganda. Besigye Group back to drawing board ahead of 2026 polls. And on public debt, which is something, is a theme that we may share.
Yes.
Each Ugandan now owes 2.5 million shillings Ugandan money.
That's also
how much?
Hundreds of thousands.
Could be maybe less than 100,000 Kenyan shillings. Well, that's the Daily Monitor. The other daily in Uganda is the New Vision.
Actually, before you cross over to the New Vision, Daily Monitor always has a piece on matters relationships each Thursday. And today they have a very interesting one. They call it the DM today. Aliban Kohas, 71 years and counting. A couple that has been together for 71 years.
Wow.
And that raises a question for today. If you get your mpo on social media, can you actually cross over this number of years, 71 years?
From social media?
From social media.
It lasts an average of 30 minutes. Let's cross over to the New Vision, the other daily in Uganda. NRM cadres petition a CEC over 2026 candidate matters politics. Clear confusion on party presidential flag bearer, competition in the opposition party. Yes, that's a New Vision in Kampala, Uganda as well. Matters politics, making the front page of this newspaper, and also a mention of what's happening to Kabaka Mutesa's house. Makerere University has decided to open the Mutesa Museum at the house where Kabaka Mutesa lived. And those are the headlines in Uganda today.
All right. On from Kampala to Dodoma and see what is happening in Tanzania. We start with the Citizen and matters economy and also matters water crisis. But we start with economy. So here are the fastest growing sectors shoring up economy. So the Bank of Tanzania lists finance, insurance, information and communication as fastest growing sectors in the country, while policy reforms are enabling business environment push for economic expansion. That is matters economy. But we thought that the hot weather is only probably affecting us Kenyans really. But in Tanzania, they're having it major. So not only the fact that they're having hot weather, but they're also having a water crisis in that country. And they say for months, residents of Tanzania's commercial capital, that is Dar es Salaam, have been grappling with an unprecedented water shortage, leaving them parched and frustrated in the face of soaring temperatures. Moise on page 2. And so, according to the Dar es Salaam Water and Sewerage Authority acting CEO, there is Kiula Kingu, talking to Tanzania Broadcasting Corporation. He was saying that attributing the water access challenges to the El Niño rains, but he says wreaked havoc on major infrastructure. That is, those are the major stories given prominence on The Citizen.
Tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi kule Tanzania. Ni vilio kila kona, mgao wa maji. Wananchi wa haha kutafuta maji huku bei zikipanda mitaani. Mamlaka za maji za banwa kujificha kwenye kivuli cha umeme. Habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa jarida la Mwananchi kule Tanzania. Habari zingine zilizopewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele ni simulizi ya tabibu aliyevuka mto, na simulizi hili laacha gumzo. Tabibu mwenyewe akivuka mto yuko pale. Na nafikiri amebeba madawa kichwani.
Yeah.
Na hii habari imepewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Kwingineko, vidokezo zaidi, wakuu wa mikoa ma-DC watwishwa zigo la sukari. Masuala ya sukari bado ni makubwa kule Tanzania. Kuna uhaba wa sukari. Kwingineko, Sabaya mbwaga tena DPP kotini, na waziri mkuu DRC ajiuzulu, achagua kubaki mbunge. Yes, the Prime Minister in DRC resigned,
yes,
and decided just to be a normal MP.
Oh, yes.
Hayo ndio maswala au habari zilizopewa kipaumbele kule Bongo hii leo.
If we ever see such happenings in Kenya, I don't know if it will have the front page of the country.
In Kenya, they say I'd rather die than resign.
Right, kutoka Dar es Salaam tuelekee pale Kigali kule Rwanda. And they never focus on matters politics, just matters development and matters health as well. So they say inside Rwanda's approach to epidemic preparedness and the effective use of medical oxygen is closely connected to the availability of ventilators. More on page 3. And they also say official routes for refugees self-reliance as funding drops. Matters DRC. So a group of 95 Burundian refugees left Rwanda to return to their country. So the refugees, many of whom fled the country in 2015, due to political instability, voluntarily expressed the desire to return. Not matters DRC, but Burundi. Other highlights on this paper: Rwanda envoy asks UN to amplify DR Congo accusations. And they're asking, can new reform boost women's input in Africa's energy sector? And that is Rwanda. That marks the end of paper review. Let's get into kwenye caricature.
Yes, back home on the cartoons, we start off with page 15 of the Daily Nation. Matters fuel prices, and we have EPRA there walking on a tightrope. This rope is also tied as a noose around the neck of the common Mwananchi. And then EPRA is trying to balance some weights, levy weights. And you know, the indication is that despite the shilling having a good rally against the US dollar, there's some levies that are charged for electricity and other fuel prices that have been tripled. And that means that despite the dollar performing well, the shilling performing well against the dollar, you might not get to experience any relief in as far as fuel or electricity prices anytime soon.
Right. I take a look at the People Daily before we cross over to the next. On People Daily, a gentleman running there, past a junction, heading to early campaigns, seems to be a box that is locked. And he says that is his first priority. He's left the pending work, the road leading to the pending work, and crossed to the early campaigns.
He took a diversion.
He took a diversion.
He's
wearing a yellow tie, so maybe you can decipher.
He had the obvious option of attending to pending work.
Yes, which if you actually ask me, it's a shorter.
Yes,
it's shorter distance than the early campaigns.
Wow. The cartoon on page 14 of the Standard matters interest rates and the games. What's happening between CBK, the banks, and the borrowers? Remember, the CBK adjusted its base lending rate recently, meaning some banks are charging interest rates as high as 26% on commercial loans. And so borrowers are indeed suffering. And there they say it appears like a game. That when it comes to borrowers versus banks and the CBK, the borrowers have definitely been outplayed. And those are the cartoons on our dailies this morning. After the break, we'll be looking at some of these headlines and the big discussions with our panelists this morning. Today we have Esther Passaris, a woman representative in Nairobi County, Wanjiru Gekonyo, advocate for good governance and accountability, and Julia Shege, governance expert. Do stand by for that conversation. Today we have an all-female panel.
Yes.
And I do hope it's going to be an interesting one. And of course, you can be part of this conversation online on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. And of course, the other conversation that we're going to be having later.
Oh, yes. A relationship coach, Pastor Fantas Njogu, Kenya Gitonga, psychologist and author, as well as Wanyoke Sophie, who's an actress, telling us the tips and tricks on matters dating in the new age and in the digital age, so to speak. You know,
would you get your mpoa from social media? That's the question we ask.
For a moment, I thought you were actually asking me.
Yes, I'm asking you. Would you?
Will I? Yeah. Ooh, will I really?
Something to think about.
Something to think about.
All right.
But I mean, in the digital age right now, if you think about it, it's where we really spend a huge percentage of our time. Because I mean, if you're in the workspace, you'd have to be in the workspace really, and even in social media. So, all right, chances are you might actually get into it.
Do stand by for that conversation coming later on. For now, let's take a break. You're watching Morning Cafe.